Good morning, sports fans. How is everybody today? It is Friday, the 22nd of January. This is members only, but it's members only for everybody today. We were looking for 175 likes yesterday. We got to, we were up there. We appreciate the work from you guys. So we got a big slate tonight. This is a fun one to talk over for everybody. And I don't know, about 10 minutes ago, it came out that KD is questionable tonight, and with the Nets playing tomorrow. I mean, that could be a really big factor on this slate, in my opinion, because I think the Nets are just going to be one of the most interesting teams to play and to target for the rest of the year.
For sure. I mean, we got a massive slate tonight. News just starting to come out. I have a feeling, I'm sure you'll agree, that's not the only news we're going to get today.
Well, for all my years of playing DFS, yes, I believe you to be correct. So, standard, members only video. We're going to go through this stuff game by game, starting with Chicago against Charlotte, which is the first one on the docket chronologically. It's got the highest total of the night. It's projected to be relatively close. We got news at the center position this evening, which is Wendell Carter probably isn't going to go, but Cody Zeller is also back. So let's start at the center spot, and let's talk about the backup center, Daniel Gafford, and how to approach him tonight. This one, for me, is a position that I feel it's a lot bigger priority if he's starting. If he's not, I'm kind of wondering if the Bulls plan to go small.
Yeah, I agree with that. No doubt about that. At 3K or 3,100, I think you can obviously take shots on him regardless, even if he's not in the starting lineup, because he's a guy that gets DFS points when he's in there. But I don't have confidence he'll play over like 16 to 20 minutes unless he's starting. If he's starting, he's a lock, though.
Yeah, well, I got 3 centers in my player pool today, and part of me hopes he doesn't start, so I don't even have to consider him. But that's something we won't know. Fortunately for everyone today, guys, this is the first game. So you're going to get plenty of time to prepare for this one. I think this is some of the more important news of the day. We often talk about how starting is overrated, but there are certain situations for me that you need to know what the coach's thought process is. And if they start small, I have no faith Gafford plays any more than he does normally. And with a couple other centers I like, I probably just don't end up there.
For sure. It's important to know. And the only way you know about like when it's important guys are starting when they're coming off bench is by watching a ton of basketball. Even me and you are wrong about that sometimes. So it's just like gut feeling, it's intuition. And you only get it by watching a ton of ball.
So, and the other reason to think that they might be able to play small today is Cody Zeller's back. I don't think they have a lot of desire to go with Biyombo, which is why they were playing a small a lot before that. So these teams could definitely, because Zeller is not a 35-minute game guy. I know he's in pretty good shape because it was a hand injury, so I don't think he's going to.
I was thinking he might not even play that much.
Yeah, I don't know. So we've seen him play once this year. He got hurt in the middle of the game. He's also, to me, in play at 3,500. I just have other centers I like more, so I won't get there.
I'm not as convinced he's like automatically stepping in for Biyombo, but again, I could be wrong there. I'm not using him tonight, but I'll watch it.
What did they say about him yesterday? I saw him on here. It's probably gonna be tough to find because it's so far back. So
they say he's like starting.
They said something. I can't remember if it was there was no minutes limit, if he was starting, or what the deal was. I saw it yesterday.
He's starting. Yeah, he's definitely going to take over Biyombo's minutes clearly. So I'm wrong there.
Doesn't expect to have a minutes limit if he plays Friday. Okay, that's it. So it was a hand injury, which means he could still do his running, but he's not playing 30 minutes to start.
Who knows if they even want him playing 30 minutes like with this new team.
Exactly. Okay. As far as the guards in this game goes, so I think guard is going to be tough to get to. Why? Because it's a monster slate today, and we're going to have a lot of guys in play. The Chicago Bulls backcourt is not strong defensively. So if you want to make a case for LaMelo Ball, Terry Rozier, or Devontae Graham, I completely understand. I like the shooting guard eligibility of Terry Rozier, but my favorite of the three would be the cheapest one, Devontae Graham, who prior to this short little break the Hornets got had really kind of started to refine what he had going last year. I mean, if you just look through his game log recently, 41, 29, 29, 38, 29, 37, 38. He had been playing substantially better. This is a really good matchup. I don't like this many days off for an outside shooter, but it's also not like he had been like tearing it up shooting-wise. He had been participating with his assists and his steals. I think he's a solid play, and depending on what happens with Kevin Durant, we'll see how many guard spots I have.
Yeah, I like the call a lot. He'd definitely be my favorite. of the Charlotte group. I also don't love that they've had so many days off, but I mean, it's not like I'm not using them because of it. Graham would be my favorite for sure.
Okay. So I think the guys for me in this game that I was specifically really targeting were going to be Devonte Graham, potentially Daniel Gafford if starting. And then there's going to be a well, I don't really like anybody from the Bulls. And the big reason is like they're healthy other than potentially Gafford. Like they got all their guys back.
They do, except for Wendell Carter, which could be big for Markkanen. That's the guy that I'm looking at a little bit.
Yeah, I don't know he would play many more minutes. He's a guy I've considered today, but I don't know if like I'm going to be able to get to him in the mid-tier.
I don't think that it's about the minutes because he's playing big minutes now, which we like to see. It's more about the opportunities inside. Like, will he get more rebounding chances? If they go small, is it possible he like plays center, which would be massive? Again, not a lock, but you're right about the guards are healthy for Chicago. I'm not really looking there. Otto Porter's back. Markkanen's my favorite piece.
Yeah, I probably won't get to any Bills, but he was also my favorite piece of Chicago. This game's not bad from a 30,000-foot view, and it's got some pieces, but you know, a lot of these Bulls guys got priced up from all that time without Markkanen and the other boys around him. So, like, we love Kobe White, but he's not even on my list today.
No, he's not. And yeah, you're right. As far as Gafford goes, if he's starting, he's not a lock because you got DeMarcus Cousins, who's a lock in the next game. But Gafford looks like a really strong play at 3,100. I'll probably play both those guys.
All right, so next up we got Houston against Detroit. They announced it yesterday. Thank you, Houston, for making life easier on the DFS players.
I'm sure they did it, right?
No, I don't think that's why they did it. But I'm going to tell myself that story that they're just looking out for us.
That's fair.
Probably not, though. This is not a bad game to target. We saw Atlanta and Detroit play a good game the other day for DFS points. You know, plus when they got overtime to boot, but there was plenty of turnovers, shots that stopped falling, and everything like that. You know, so we got Houston, Detroit. It's about a 220-ish total. Minus 3.5. No Christian Wood. DeMarcus Cousins is already announced as the starter. 4,400. We just saw Mason Plumlee and his terrible, terrible defense get absolutely destroyed as Clint Capella went for 9,000 points. Yeah, Cousins is a lock for me.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, this is one that he'll be really high owned, and it's because if you want to be different with your other 7. I like this game. I think that I like Oladipo and I like Jerami Grant.
I like Oladipo and Eric Gordon. I think you can play them separately. I think you can play them together. Neither of them has, I don't know. Like, I don't know if I would view them as must, but I like both of them. And Depot has played super aggressively and assertively. He hasn't done anything for the Rockets you don't think is replicable, especially against a bad Detroit team. And I think Eric Gordon's a solid filler piece, especially now that they gave him small forward eligibility back as opposed to point guard and shooting guard. He hasn't done anything the last 2 games that was, you know, special. And now without Christian Wood, both of these dudes might have to take a few extra shots tonight.
I agree. I like both of them, and this game is definitely appealing. For sure. I like Oladipo more, but he's much more expensive. So I also like Gordon, and this game is appealing.
Look, guys, in a harder matchup last time out against Phoenix, Depot played 31 minutes, shot 7 of 22, scored 45 points. Now you give him a better matchup, knowing that, yeah, I guess it's possible he could shoot 2 at 22, but I don't think that's the likeliest of the scenarios. These are very, very solid plays. All 3 of those guys are in play to me. And there are other guys you can look at on Houston, PJ Tucker, et cetera, but those are the 3 guys I'm focused on.
I agree.
All right, so as far as Detroit goes, so I like Derrick Rose last slate. He came in, dropped about 8 DK points in about 2 minutes, and then he became like that song, just somebody that we used to know. I don't think he did anything the rest of the game. Literally didn't even look like he was trying out there. It was very disappointing. I watched the Atlanta-Detroit game from top to finish. This is a tough one to crack on Detroit as far as, like, is it DeLon Wright day? Is it Derrick Rose day? But the one guy whose day it is every day is Jerami Grant.
Exactly. That's why I mentioned him. And, I mean, yeah, I like him here. He's not a must because in order to be a must on this slate, you got to be like, you know, a 10-star play. And I like Grant a lot. He's not that. But, man, if I could easily see myself using Oladipo, Gordon, Cousins, and Grant in the lineup.
Yeah, especially if you're playing within the GPP format, playing these guys together and banking on an up and down game with lots of shots and turnovers and everything like that. I like this as like a mini stack. I'm not really looking to play anybody else on Detroit. Like I could understand Mason Plumlee if I didn't have other centers I like significantly more, so I can't get up to him. But for me, this is Jerami Grant versus the Houston Rockets.
Yeah, I agree with that. There's no one else on Detroit I would use. If I had 5,300 left, Plumlee would be in consideration.
Oh, I will scratch that. There's one other guy I can consider who's played 26, 28, and 33 minutes lately, which is Wayne Ellington. He's a risky play in the sense that like he's literally only a shooter, but he's very aggressive when he's out there. He's taken 23 shots the last 2 games, 20 of them from 3. They seem to like him in the starting lineup. Houston defense isn't scary in the slightest. So especially if I'm game stacking this one and I'm looking to get a little extra offense from Detroit, he's a guy that if you need a cheap shooting guard, he could be like your KCP from last night. He could get hot from 3 and give you a bunch of points.
Agreed. I think he works in that sense. He also works as a one-off because he's 3,900. Just as you kind of alluded to, like definitely buyer beware there because he's not putting up 24 plus every game.
No, we saw him basically do the exact same thing against Miami, play the same number of minutes and give you an 11 and a 32. These are both possible tonight. It's a little better matchup than Miami, but Miami is not the same team without Jimmy Butler. So you said buyer beware. I agree with that. We saw big GPP upside and a dud.
I mean, we know who Wayne Ellington is. Like that 11.25 is there's nothing about that. I'm like, damn, I can't believe he only had 11.25. I actually think the 32 with like 24, 2 and 2 is much rarer for Ellington. But again, Detroit lacks offensive pieces, so not crazy to think he walks into 25 DK points again.
No, not at all. And if he gets hot from 3, like he'll be aggressive. This dude has no conscience. He just, guys like this who don't get a lot of peripherals. He's not a blocks or steals guy. He'll get a couple of assists just out of random occurrences, and a couple boards will fall his way. But he's out there to shoot 3s and not do much else.
Mm-hmm.
Josh Jackson, probable, so that's not really a big thing. That's the real issue with Detroit, though. Outside of Jerami Grant, they seem to change their mind on what they're doing on a daily basis.
Yeah, because they don't have any other good players.
Yeah, they suck.
Mm-hmm.
I'll actually, you know what? I'll give you this. Blake Griffin has moments where he's been okay. He's got, I don't know, really like this game. He's got 30 plus in 3 of the last 4. Got a 40 spot against Phoenix in there. I won't get to Blake Griffin, but I don't think he's the worst play I've ever seen. He's playing big minutes.
It's so weird to think that this is who Blake Griffin is now.
Yeah, I saw him post up a guy a few times in the game the other day, but it's mostly shooting 3s these days. Which
is crazy. Yeah, it looks like we see this game eye to
eye. Next game, Orlando against Indiana. This is an 11-game slate. This, to me, is basically the definition of a cross-off game. I don't really have any interest here.
See ya. I'm with you.
Okay. Guys, and that's not to say that, I played Dougie Buckets the other day. He was pretty good. Rolled into 33 points. He's got 28 plus in 2 straight. He's 5K today, which is probably expensive for him. But if Turner's out and he's playing more minutes, I got it. I just think there's better plays on the slate. This is not a game I'm targeting for offense specifically.
Same.
All right. Next up, we got Brooklyn against Cleveland. And, as I was breaking down the slate to myself last night, I was kind of hoping that I could tell myself that Brooklyn was going to avenge the loss and just roll right here. So I didn't have to play anybody. And then we find out that Kevin Durant is questionable with an Achilles injury tonight. And knowing that Brooklyn plays tomorrow, I'm not surprised at all if he's out in this game.
Oh, I didn't even realize it was Achilles, and that was his injury. So maybe it's just like they're trying to rest him. Yeah, I agree. I expect him not to play today.
Yeah, it smells of what's the best way to phrase it? It smells if he ain't coming out there tonight.
For sure. Also, just with anyone, a midday downgrade, like with anyone, if they, turn up questionable during the day, I'm going to think that they're, on the likelier side to not play. And with a guy like Durant, who just missed a year, I'll be surprised if he plays at this point now.
That brings us over to KYRIE and James Harden, who, to me, knowing that the Nets are terrible at defense and now losing their best defensive player in Kevin Durant, which means this looks to be a game with a lot of offense. Do we think Cleveland keeps it close again? Well, not close again. Hell, they won last game. But do we think this game is very competitive again? I think you have to tell yourself a story. And if you believe this game is competitive again, then Kyrie Irving, James Harden, and Colin Sexton could literally be your 3 guards.
I'm worried about Cleveland staying competitive here because couple of reasons. One, like you've got Durant is Brooklyn's best player. So you've got that team, playing without him. Not that I really care about that. For me, it's more about Cleveland. Big time get up spot for them in the last game against Brooklyn. They won. I could see them just falling flat on their faces here against a much better Brooklyn team. That said, I mean, I like the way Cleveland plays. I've mentioned it a couple of times. I like their new coach. They won this game last time. I said Garnett. Durant might be Brooklyn. Not even might be. Is Brooklyn's best defender. So you're taking him out. Yeah, this game has a lot of upside. That's for damn sure.
I forgot who I was listening to break it down the other day, but they figured out how to get Colin Sexton rolling late. And in the NBA, when you find a mismatch, which is basically anybody playing on offense versus Kyrie Irving, you just expose it over and over and over and over again. So, I don't expect Colin Sexton to, what did he have, 60?
Yeah, like 65, 64.
63.75. That's a heck of a nice game, especially off that price tag. I don't expect him to hit 42 real-life points again. I mean, this guy is averaging 39 DFS points on the season in a really good matchup in a game that is all offense. I was really hoping to cross this game off, and then with Kevin Durant, good chance of not playing tonight, I became real interested.
It's hard not to be, that's for sure. No doubt about it. I was going to say a guy like Torian Prince, who saw big minutes last game, only 4,300. Like, he played 32 minutes, man.
I mean, he's a veteran presence.
Yeah.
They need some forwards. Kevin Love clearly still isn't around. That's another piece I can get on board with. I'm sure he's still a little bit motivated. He goes trading from a contender to the Cleveland Cavaliers. I'm sure he doesn't mind trying to stick it to his old team. And then as far as Andre Drummond goes, this was a big question mark, right? Now they're loaded at the center position. He only played 26 minutes the other day. It is entirely possible he plays 40 tonight. It's entirely possible he plays 26. It's possible he plays 18. I have no idea.
I agree. It's very, very hard to get to Drummond. It's like impossible if you're making 1 to 3 lineups. If you're multi-entering, I get using him a little bit. But Allen played more, and he's a lot cheaper.
Yeah, and JaVale McGee is now out of the rotation per last game, which we'll see if that continues. For me, I'm going to avoid the center position right here because I have Cousins and other centers I like.
I would expect McGee to be out of the rotation now.
So would I.
It seems like Allen is the guy that is their future. And if I were going to play one, it would definitely be Allen. Like, not even a question, I would play Allen over Drummond.
Yeah, Joe Harris could be back in the starting lineup tonight if you're looking for a role. So here's one question for you. Harden or Kyrie, which one would you play?
Harden.
Agreed. If Kevin Durant is out, the beard becomes an absolute priority for me. And is slow and old and as out of shape as he looked in Houston. He seemed to flip that switch pretty quickly. And he's been doing a little passing, right? He's got a double-digit assists in every game for Brooklyn. He's played huge minutes, which if Kevin Durant's out today, even though they play tomorrow, I don't think it's out of the realm of possibility that Durant plays tomorrow and he's out this game. So I'd expect him to play big minutes again. They're going to play a lot of high-scoring competitive games in Brooklyn.
Yeah, one thing I'll say, the only thing I disagree with is him not playing tomorrow, only because he never sits. He's a guy that always wants to play. And the only reason I mention that is because D'Antoni is a coach on the Nets and was a big proponent of them getting Harden and, was talking about a lot of that. And that is something that I respect about Harden. We talk a lot of shit about him. He plays as much as the coach will let him.
I'll make fun of the fact that he usually smells like strippers and tequila, but it's very impressive to me that he can roll out of bed smelling like strippers and tequila and go drop a triple-double with 40 points on people. That's even more impressive than a guy like LeBron, who's literally takes care of his body in every great way possible. Not that LeBron's not a significantly better player, but you guys get what I'm talking about.
For sure.
All right, so this game is a highly targetable one. Next up, Philadelphia against Boston. This is kind of another, cross-off game for me. It's not that Kemba, who's playing bigger minutes tonight, couldn't be good. I'd rather play Devontae Graham.
For sure. I want to go back to Cleveland just for a second, though, because a guy that's probably going to play today is Garland.
Okay.
What does that do for you in terms of Sexton, him, speak your mind?
On an 11-game slate where I can only roster 4 guards maximum, it does lower Colin Sexton on my priority list.
For sure. I mean, any slight bump in anything will knock a guy down on a slate this size.
I would say if it was last night and it was a 3-game slate, it probably wouldn't do enough to knock him out of my player pool, but I can only roster 4 guards tonight, absolutely maximum. And I got guys like Devontae Graham, Eric Gordon, Victor Oladipo, James Harden. It's going to be hard to get into a guard position tonight. So this could be the determining factor of why he wouldn't be one of those guards.
For sure. He's still definitely in play, though, like for sure.
Yeah. Yep. Can't play everyone. I mean, that is the downfall of these monster slates, right? Like, I liked Capella a lot the other day. He didn't get into my main lineup, and that was a mistake. And we'll get to him here momentarily as well. All right, Boston, Philadelphia. Kind of what I was saying is I'm not saying that there won't be any good plays in here. I just don't have anybody on my priority list.
Guy I'm seeing getting a little love is Kemba Walker. Minutes expected to bump up to 25 to 28 today, and he's affordable.
He is. I don't personally have any interest. I get it, though. It's Kemba Walker. He's a very good NBA player.
Yeah. I probably like him more than you do, but I'm not, like, excited about it. Is that noise coming from my end?
No, my phone was just vibrating. Yeah, he's a good player. This isn't, I don't know. I like Devontae Graham at the same price or a little bit lower.
I knew you were going to say that, and I don't disagree.
Toronto against Miami.
One thing I wanted to say about this, first, we just saw this game, and this is interesting. This game is in Florida. Like, and I was so confused about this last time. Remember, Toronto's playing in Tampa. So it's weird to have a Miami at Toronto game in Tampa.
Yeah, I do sporadically think about it. So we saw none at very high ownership. Absolutely. I would imagine this is his best game as a pro last time out.
One of them for sure. I mean, he balled.
Yeah, he was really, really good. As great as I feel about my picks last night, I was a little ashamed of the fact that I kind of slept on him the other day because he was a game changer at very high ownership. Absolutely fantastic. Tyler Hero's questionable again. So most of me just hopes Tyler Hero plays and I don't have to deal with this game at all.
I don't disagree with that at all. What's up with Pascal Siakam? Did you see that injury?
He seems to be firmly questionable today.
He played after he got. I thought he was going to be out for the year. Man, it was scary, but he ended up playing after that. I'm not going to be surprised if he sits here. Which, if he's out, it does, open up. Like, it makes me like Lowry and Van Fleet more.
Sure, and I know he was bad the other day, but Boucher is wildly in play if he's really the only big guy left in this situation. It wouldn't be crazy to see Aaron Baines have his moment on Toronto, but there's no way in a million years could I ever roster him tonight.
You definitely called that Boucher down game, so I'm not happy about that. But, yeah, man, like, he's definitely still in play. He's obviously – I'm a little salty about him right now, but it is what it is. He's not a guy that's going to have – he's not a proven veteran that's going to have 45-plus every game.
Yeah, absolutely. So – I don't know. Most of this is just a cross-off spot for me. I probably won't even go to none, even if Hero is out, because he was great last time out. We have not seen highly replicable performances from him like this, but, got to give a dude credit. He's been fantastic the last 2 games. He hit 4-6 from 3 the other day. He had 8 rebounds. He was very, very good.
Yeah, I won't get here either, but I'm with you.
All right, so moving on down the line. And then we move over to this Atlanta-Minnesota game, which, talking about guard spots being at a premium, we just saw this game the other day. Despite not being super high scoring, we saw excellent scores from the likes of TRAE Young, who was very good with 55 points, didn't even play that many minutes.
8
only
shots.
Shot 8 times.
Yeah, he's definitely – man, talked about that Houston-Detroit game. I like this game more.
I feel better about some of the pieces in the other game just because I know what their role is going to be, but I have a lot of interest in a bunch of players on this game. TRAE Young, D'Angelo Russell, and I'm just going to skip over to the center position. Guys, what we said about CLINT CAPELA the other day, these monster minutes, a big reason to like him. I know the scores look great, but the fact that he's playing huge minutes, and him and TRAE are working that pick and roll to death right now, and he is scoring like he never scored for Houston.
Yeah, he is, man. I like this. I agree. The exact pieces we like in Houston and Detroit, those 4 guys, look really safe, and I like those guys a lot. But the overall atmosphere of this game, I like more. Is, I guess, the best way to put it.
And I mean, I'm a Capela fan, so this isn't like something to me that's an aberration. I think he's a really good player. He's an excellent shot blocker, which he's been showing. He's playing with supreme confidence right now. Do I love the fact that his price tag has been ratcheted up to 8,300? No, I don't. Do I expect him to go for 76 points? No, I don't. But I do think another 50 spot is very, very plausible. The minutes limit is off, man. The gloves are off. He is playing huge minutes with 37, 39, and 39.
If Durant is out, who do you like more, Trae Young or Kyrie?
James Harden. The cash game, that's a tough one. I would probably try to study up on the ownership and go with the higher owned player. In a GPP, it would probably be more. I'd probably run a little bit of a game script as far as getting a few pieces from each game.
Makes a lot of sense.
So we had a John Collins sighting the other day. I do think that's good for his confidence, good for his aggression. He shot 24 times. I'm not trying to piggyback on this because spots are at a premium today. But if Hunter and Reddish are out again, then I don't think he's out of play. I just think you'll get him. He's a lower owned piece because he only had one game, whereas Capela's had 3. People don't want to double up on the big men right here. So I think he would make for an intriguing pivot, but I could never roster him in like your main lineup.
I agree. And how much is Herder today?
Well, they fixed the human error that went into his price tag the other day, and now he is 5,900. So they basically, I think maybe like the numbers just got mixed up because he was never supposed to be 9,500. I mean, he's in play at 5,900 for sure. We just saw him light up Minnesota.
I had heard there was something wrong with the algorithm because on the slate against Minnesota, when he was 5,700, he was like 70% owned. So like, I think that's what had to do with him being so expensive the next day. I have no idea, but that's what I'm going with. As far as today goes, though, he's under 6K now, especially if those other 2 guys are out. He's wildly in play.
Especially if those 2 guys are out, because it's the minutes that you want to know are really, really safe. And he's a good player, and they like him there. So if those guys are out, I expect him to play mid-30s minimum as long as this game remains competitive.
Mm-hmm. With you.
So Anthony Edwards was trash at high ownership the other day. I don't think he's out of play. He's just, I can't play him because it's an 11-game slate, and there's other players I like significantly better.
Yeah, agreed. That's just the nature of the beast of this slate.
And it's kind of the same thing with Malik Beasley and D'Angelo Russell. I like them both, but guard spots are at a premium. D'Angelo Russell is going to be difficult to get to today, and I like him.
Yeah, I'm more likely to get to D'Angelo Russell than you are, but what else is new?
Yeah, I think he's a good play today. There's a lot of guards that you're going to want to roster. And assuming Kevin Durant's out, man, like that player pool of guards is going to be large today.
I can easily see myself. I will actually, if I'm making 3 or 4 lineups, I'll definitely have a stack of this game. And the Cleveland game, if Durant's out, makes it definitely a riskier, to do that. But it also means the ownership's going to be lower.
Yeah, there's enough good plays on this one. I think you just play who you want today, guys. Pick
Great.
Guys that you like and just roll with it. If both of those dudes are out and you're desperate for forward cap space, Solomon Hill isn't the worst play in the world. He's like a poor man's Wayne Ellington in a lot of ways. I'm assuming we'll get better value, but if all those guys are out, he played big minutes the other day.
You better love the rest of your lineup.
Yeah. He's very uninspiring. He's just another guy. He just shoots threes, and he's not as good of a three-point shooter as Wayne Ellington.
For sure.
All right, so Dallas against San Antonio. I think there's a couple of guys in this game that are in play as well, which is kind of the issue with this being a monster player pool today and why I can cross off the next game, for example. So the unicorn, Kristaps, has started to look the part a lot more in the last 2 days. And he's gone from playing, 29 minutes. Now he's up into the low 30s. His game has improved 4 games in a row. We know he's a good player. He's got power forward eligibility. I'm a fan. I don't know if I can get here in a main lineup tonight because you can only play so many good plays. I don't think I'll have the money for him, but I do think that keeps his ownership down as well.
I agree. I'm a fan, and I won't get there. He's smack dab in the middle of Jeremy Grant and Oladipo, price-wise. He's the same as Jeremy Grant. I like the other 2 guys more. I like Porzingis here, and you're right. On a lot of slates, I'd be getting there, but it's tough on this one.
So I'm not really interested in any San Antonio players. How about you?
I am more than you only because their prices are now down. Like all of them prices are down. Aldridge at 5,500, DeRozan under 8K. I'm not like excited about any of them, but these guys were $1,000 more last slate. So DraftKings has adjusted, and now I'm interested.
I'm not going to play anybody from San Antonio. Anybody you think you might play? Just those guys?
Yeah, I mean, Aldridge would be the top guy probably at 5,500, which is probably the lowest he'll be all year and probably the lowest we've ever seen him.
I do think that it's a good day for Luka if you're trying, because I think you get Luka at lower ownership than normal, especially if Kevin Durant is out. I still will prefer James Harden, so I will play him. But I do think that you saw him struggle against the Indiana box and one. He was rough game against Toronto, tail end of a back-to-back, travel, third game in 4 night, and he was terrible. This should keep his ownership down a little bit as well. And if Kevin Durant's out, I would just assume like James Harden's going to be much higher owned.
His leg does not look right to me, so I wouldn't touch him at all. He was so passive in that Indiana game, deferred the entire game after the first quarter. Not interested even a little bit. If I made 150 lineups, not sure I'd use him one time.
Then the other guy that I don't think would make a lineup of mine, but is wildly in play, is going to be THJ, who got another price decrease. I mean, he's gone basically. He's got the terrible game against Toronto, where Dallas was just awful. But some, monster GPP game, decent game, good game, pathetic game, and then another decent game. So he's a guy in that mid-tier price that plays big minutes with them shorthanded like this that I could absolutely get on board with.
Especially with what I said about Luka. Like, he doesn't look great, which only benefits the other guys. And I can also get on board with Brunson and Burke.
So I think Dallas, to me, is a team that's likely to be filled with a ton of honorable mentions for me today. Like a lot of guys that I could get on board with. I just don't know that I get to any of them because it's
Brunson's the guy I like.
Okay.
I hate the guard position sucks, but I just think he's one of the better value plays starting. Nothing that he did last game is unreplicable. He was actually bad in the first quarter. His first run, he had like 1 rebound and 2 fouls. So all that came in the second quarter on, which is a good thing.
All right. OKC against the Clippers. I'm out like the gout. I got nothing I want from this game.
I mean, again, it depends if you think that OKC can keep this game close. If you do, I think it's a shy spot. I mean, because he's really good. Anytime OKC keeps the game close, he puts up 50, it seems like.
Are you going to play shy?
Maybe.
I struggle to get to him over the other guards.
Hey, like what?
I would really, really struggle to get to him over the other guards that we've kind of referenced.
That's
KYRIE,
why you're
Harden, et cetera.
I'm a GP player.
Yep.
Anytime the game's close, he's under 8K now. I mean, this is what you get with Shai. He's another guy, $1,000 cheaper than he was last time. Matchups and stuff, like, that doesn't bother me as much as it does you. If OKC keeps this game close, Shai will have a good game here. I'm very confident of that. And he'll be very low owned. I'll say this, back to Atlanta, Minnesota, a guy that's really cheap that we didn't even bring up is JADEN McDaniels at 3,500.
Yeah, he had a good game last time out. I was thinking about him as I looked through the slate last night. It's hard to know what they're going to do with their big guys.
For sure. I
don't trust it, but we just saw like big time upside. Now, he's not a big shot blocker like this typically, but he's 3,400 or 3,500. So in a game that we like a lot, I think he's more of a GPP guy because you can't really trust these minutes. But maybe they just encouraged by his last game and play him bigger minutes.
Yeah, for me, it's like, he played really well. They should have won that game. They lost on a Cole Anthony 3.
That was a great shot by Cole Anthony. Welcome to the NBA, young man. I was watching that game live. That was awesome.
Most competitive that they've been in a while. I like them in this game tonight. I think they win this game tonight, and I'll take a couple shots on McDaniels at 3,500. Yeah, obviously, the risk is minimal, and the upside's real if he gets the run. The other thing about this slate, the last few games are not that appealing to me.
No, me neither. We'll get to the last game, which has a little bit of appeal compared to the other ones, but I'm with you on that one. McLaughlin's played some nice minutes lately. I just can't use pay down spots at the guard spots. Too much of a premium.
Agreed. Agree.
All right. So, I already told you my thoughts on OKC, the Clippers. Denver against Phoenix is another one. I'm not saying Jamal Murray won't be good. Jokic is in play every day, but I got too many other centers on my short list right here. I'm not really getting to anybody in this game. I know JaMychal Green has played well, but Porter might be back tonight. Was there anything here you were looking at?
Not really, especially with Porter back. I mean, again, I feel similarly about Monte Morris as I do Jalen Brunson. He's a little bit cheaper. I don't feel as safe about it, but tough to get to those guys on a big slate like this. If you need the value, though, I mean, that game against Utah is the only time he hasn't had 20 in like the last 10 games, and he's 4K, so I don't mind that at all. But that's it. I mean, Jokic, like you said, he's in play every day, but I can't see myself getting to much in this game because even like Shai, who's a long shot to get to, that if OKC keeps that game close, like Shai's going to have a good game. Here, there is not even that. I don't even know what I would look for.
Yeah, Jokic will be lower owned than normal as Cousins and a couple other centers eat into his ownership, but I don't like it enough to play it. So that's about it.
So expensive. I mean,
yeah, it's a cross-off game for me, really.
Yeah, I agree with that. I agree.
All right, so New York against Sacramento. There isn't anybody from Sacramento that I'm like loving or really, really trying to get to. Again, spots are at a premium. You got 8 spots. Obviously, if you play multiple lineups, that's a little bit of a different story. I like Randall and Bear, but not like I like them last night.
Same. I mean, coming off a back-to-back. I agree with you. I mean, I like Randall and Barrett, but I don't like them as much as I did last night. Looking a little bit at Alec Burks. But again, who knows? His first game, his first back-to-back. Encouraged that he played 31 minutes, though, and we know Sacramento gives it up to guards. Really, though, for me, Bagley's my favorite play from this game, but what else is new?
Yeah, and I think his questionable is probable. Yeah.
He didn't play great last time out, but I'm encouraged by the minutes.
Yeah, took a small dip, but it's still significantly more than he's been playing.
Yeah, and maybe like now because he's actually – and this is just me, guessing here. Maybe because he's playing bigger minutes now, they're not going to use him in blowout run.
I don't know. I like to watch Sacramento play. I don't know what their plan is, but you have to be encouraged by 29 plus for 3 straight.
Yeah, exactly. That's all it is. And I will say this, as he's played better, Barnes has gone way down.
Yeah. Heel had one big game too, and then he came back to reality. Fox had that monster game the other day, but he's 8,800. Elf played big minutes last night, so I would watch for potentially New York to maybe have somebody out today. Now, I don't know if we're going to get any kind of announcement like that, but it's not crazy to think like, Rivers doesn't play again. And then like Burks all of a sudden is just resting because he's coming off a bad ankle sprain that took him almost a month. And then like a guy that we kind of liked yesterday but didn't play that much was Quickly. He could be in play.
Definitely. He would be in play in that scenario for sure. No doubt.
So don't know. Keep your eyes on this one. I'm more interested in the New York guys than I am the Sacramento guys because I love picking on Sacramento. Gives up a ton of big points, but I don't love them coming off of the tail end of a back-to-back like this. They played big minutes last night, which they always do. Randall was, basically exactly what we expected. I think you just have to be a little pissed that Robinson missed the dunk for his triple-dub that you called for.
Yeah, for sure. No doubt about that. I'll say this. Just about Elf quickly, it's so weird that he played close to 40 minutes last night and didn't even have 30 DK points.
Yeah, he's an enigma. Up and down minutes wise. I'm
not talking about playing him here, but Elf's usually a guy, like if you told me he was going to play 37 minutes against Golden State, I probably would have locked him in last night.
Yeah, they really just fed their big guns of RJ Barrett and Julius Randle. I'm assuming you watched a little bit of this game. I watched most of it, just going back and forth between the Jazz and the Pelicans in this one. And Barrett played well early, definitely slowed down in the second half. Randle was not super effective scoring, but he had big rebound numbers, which we had called for. He wanted the triple-double. Mitchell Robinson's fault he didn't get there. Missed an easy dunk. Barrett was good.
I know this is out there because Sacramento isn't very good, but I am a little bit worried about them rolling here. I feel like they're a team they've got, they just got rolled by the Clippers twice out of the past 3. They lost that tough game against New Orleans. I think they got a lot of aggression coming out. And New York is probably they are better than Sacramento, but it's not like they can't get blown out by anyone. So I'm a tad worried about that here. Maybe that's stupid, but it's in my head.
Well, I mean, I think Sacramento's better than New York for myself, at least from a talent perspective. That's one of the concerns that I have.
You think Sacramento is better than New York?
I think that if these teams played 99 times, they'd win at least 50 of them.
I think they're very close. I don't disagree with you, though.
I like the culture that Thibs is building in New York, but they got some good players in Sacramento, so that's why I just think they're a little bit better of a basketball team. Though they play in the West, which is a little bit more loaded.
Yeah, I mean, you got Fox, who's like Randall is having a very good year, but if we could have one player to start our team with, I think it would be Fox for sure.
Yeah, no doubt about it. And we like Randall, but you probably think Bagley's just as good, right?
I mean, it's hard to say that. Like, Randall's a monster. I like Bagley's future, but man, I don't think he's as good as Randall.
Yeah, I think they're comparable from a talent perspective.
From a talent perspective, Bagley might be argued like more talented than Randall, like more talented at the game of basketball. But there's so much more than that, right? Like Randall provides it. Randall's also very talented, but also provides a lot of that grit, and he wants the ball in big spots. So yeah, I see what you're saying though, for sure.
The tough part about Julius Randle and why he's been on the move a lot is he's not a good enough three-point shooter to be that true stretch 4, but he also doesn't protect the rim enough to actually be a 5. So in a lot of ways, he's more of a throwback player, like a better version of like a Greg Monroe or some of these guys that we've seen who aren't that bad, but just can't find a place in the NBA.
No, he's a great scorer, but he's not a great three-point shooter at all.
And he's not much for rim protection. As far as big men go, he doesn't offer you, and that's why he plays more of the 4. And he can shoot the 3, but not at a high level.
He's probably a better three-point shooter than rim protector.
Yeah, probably. All right, I just want to kind of run through like a quick like player pool breakdown, and then we'll let you guys go for the day. From the center position, like we agree, Cousins is a lock, and then the two guys that I'm, are going to have some exposure to are going to be Clint Capella in a game that makes a ton of sense to take a look at, and then the other one for me would be potentially Daniel Gafford, but only if starting.
Yeah, definitely. I like Gafford. If Gafford's starting, Gafford and Cousins would be two guys I'm looking hard at.
And as much as I like Clint Capella, I think I could move past him if Gafford was starting, because then I can get my high-price guards.
He's also like Capella's expensive, man, and like he definitely can get 50 plus again. It's a great matchup, but like I don't think that's who he's going to be for the rest of the year. I mean, if he has 40 to 45 here, that's a good game for him, and at 8,300, you don't need that.
Yeah, he is also playing Minnesota, which is nice.
Yeah, he's in a great spot. If he had 55 again, I wouldn't be surprised either. So he's definitely in play.
They did make a great point if you were listening to the Hawks broadcasters during the game against Detroit the other day that in Houston, like, he wasn't allowed to shoot because James Harden wanted to be the only one that shot. But all of a sudden now he scored 20 plus in 3 straight because they're utilizing him in the pick and roll in a completely different way than he was before.
For sure.
And so for me, Gafford, Cousins, Capella, and if Gafford starts, it's hard to find better value for that. But just because he starts, guys, doesn't mean he's going to play big minutes. I'll probably use him, and I'll take my shot right there because I like this game. And he's very, very cheap. And he's not a bad DFS player when he's out there. But that does not mean he's going to play 30 minutes. So if he becomes super chalk and you're looking for a reason to fade him, he could just be in the same role and they could go small.
Mm-hmm, no doubt.
All right. As far as the guards go today, to me, this is where your decisions become tough. I know you don't like Luka, but I think these top 4 guards, and then D'Angelo Russell and Victor Oladipo, I got 6 guards right there alone, which means making decisions is really, really difficult. Also why it's a lot easier to get past Clint Capella and go with a Daniel Gafford if he's starting.
Exactly. And then you also have like Devontae Grahams and
Colin Sexton
and Kevin Huerters. I know more of a shooting guard, but there's a lot of guys in play here.
Yeah, it's a big slate. These are the problems with big slates is you're going to miss guys that you like. Like I like Devonte Graham, but there's going to be multiple lineups I don't get him in. And then when he goes off against Chicago for 48 points because he's hitting the three ball at a high rate, it's going to suck that I didn't roster him.
Mm-hmm.
So I won't play him. But again, if Hero's out, Kendrick Nunn is probably feeling himself right now and can easily be really, really aggressive again.
For sure. I still think I'd use Derrick Rose over him, though.
Yeah, I can't play Derrick Rose tonight, but it's more because I'm just pissed at him, not because it doesn't mean he couldn't play well.
It's kind of how I feel about Boucher.
Yeah, it's hard to completely take the emotions out of, the situations like this, right?
Especially on such a massive slate.
And then all of a sudden, if Alec Burks is out, and then I become interested in quickly, that's a completely different story there as well.
We might not know either.
Yeah, and it's not one that I would like enough to plan around.
And then, man, I am getting I'm drawn to that Houston-Detroit game.
Yeah, I think it's going to be, you mentioned it. You messaged me the other day during the Atlanta-Minnesota game that it reminded you of the game from a few years ago where maybe the point totals aren't huge, but the turnovers are big. You got, you're bringing in new pieces for Houston. You're taking away your stud center and Christian Woods, quote unquote, from Shaq. Detroit, can play really, really sloppy. There could be plenty of turnovers in that game.
For sure. No doubt.
Depot is a really good theft artist. And now it's kind of like all of a sudden it's his team for the time being until John Wall and Christian Wood comes back.
So, yeah, great call. I'm with it.
I mean, he's been good the last two games. And against a better team without Christian Wood, I might be worried about Houston just not being very good. But newsflash, Detroit ain't that good team. They are trash.
I feel like Oladipo's got a huge game coming too. He's struggled in the start of each of the past in his first two games as a Rocket.
Yeah. We threw in Eric Gordon right there as well. I do think a nice thing that if we could get some real nice pay down options at the small forward and power forward position, it would make lineup building significantly easier. We got high price guards that we're really interested in. And if Kevin Durant gets ruled out, we got even more guys that we become really, really, really interested in. So let's just run through again these cheaper forwards to see if there's anybody that, tickles you on the right spot.
Definitely thinking about Taurean Prince.
Oh, yeah, that's right. Good call. Your boy Vassal's played well the last couple of games. It's hard to jump in with 2 feet right here, but we got 4 straight games of 20-plus points, and the minutes have been reliable, which is even more important.
Yeah, I feel similarly about him and Cam Johnson again. I think I like Prince more, though.
We've only seen one game of Prince like this, but then again, we've only seen one game. So in 100% of games he's played for Cleveland, he's had a big role and played well.
Yeah, and I mean, if this game's close, he's going to have a big role again. I don't see why he wouldn't.
Darius Garland's coming back. They don't play the same position. I know Josh Green played decent minutes the other day for Dallas, and he's cheap down here. Talk about a guy who had a nice start to the game and didn't do anything after that.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah, it's happened sometimes with those type of guys. I'm digging your Eric Gordon call too.
Yeah, if only he was 3,800.
Yeah, right.
The power forward position, you mentioned Prince. I can completely get on board with that.
Also, Jeff Green.
Well, you read my mind as I was about to click on him. He played well the other day. And if Durant's out, I think there's good opportunity for him to play 38 minutes again.
I will say, though, about Prince, and I'm just thinking about this. He played 32 minutes. I don't know how much of that was in OT, double OT.
It's true. I wasn't watching this game close enough to know what those minutes came from, or some or all of them.
Jaden McDaniels also.
Yeah. So pay attention throughout the day. Some cheap forwards would be great. Because even if let's say we get Gafford. And you got Cousins and Gafford right here, which is a great starting point. But let's just say you choose to go even on the cheap end and you go Trae Young, D'Angelo Russell. It would be nice to be able to get also Harden right here, for example. And then some cheaper small forwards and power forwards would be nice. Because if you can go Eric Gordon right here, you can't get to Depot, which I would prefer to get to Oladipo over Eric Gordon. But you can't play everybody. Like this is where like your McDaniels play would work out really nicely. Because you could roll with him and a Prince, for example.
Yeah, and it's funny. The more I look at this slate, I like Oladipo, I think, slightly more than I like the guys from Atlanta, Minnesota. And I like those guys a lot, but I'm feeling the Oladipo big game tonight. I like Houston. I like that game.
Well, and I kind of like Depot more than I like D'Angelo Russell.
Yeah, I do
for
too.
less money.
And I also don't think Trae Young, who, again, I like a lot, but it's a massive slate. He's not a must for me. Like, I can see myself using Kevin Huerter from that game.
Yeah, I think he's a solid play, especially because he's not almost 10K.
Yeah, exactly, right? Which matters. I mean, means something.
There's going to be guys that, like, I think you can look at on the slate, like a Malcolm Brogdon, who are going to be, like, almost unowned. But I think they're almost unowned for a reason. And I don't want to go out of my way to play a guy that I like a lot. I think some of these guards, Victor Oladipo, Harden with no Durant, are in crush spots. So I'll probably keep my pool small so that I don't overexpose myself. And I think just because there's so many good plays, some of these dudes will be low owned just because you can't play everybody.
I agree. I mean, I think a lot of guys are going to be low owned. I think some guys, like a few guys, will be very high owned. You'll see it concentrated, like Cousins will be extremely high owned. If Gafford, like you'll see a couple guys be really chalky, and then I think everyone else is, spread out. You might see Harden get a ton of love.
If Durant's out, Harden will get love.
Especially because you're pairing him with a Cousins who's really cheap. So, but guys like Oladipo, D'Angelo Russell, even like they're all going to eat into each other. And there's a ton more like that.
My gut instinct, without looking into this further throughout the day, I think Victor Oladipo gets more love than D'Angelo Russell.
Probably because he's significantly cheaper. But I don't think Oladipo is over like 15%.
It's a tough call.
Yeah, it is a tough call. And because I'm not going to be shocked if he's like 30%. But then I think about how massive the slate is. Like, if he's 30%, then like who's going to be unowned? I mean, you didn't even have your boy Devontae Graham in that line. Exactly.
Like, there's just some really good plays. I could see Depot being overwhelming chalk though as well, but I don't know this early in the morning.
So could I. I could see that, but it's not like the likeliest outcome right now. At least as far as I'm looking at it.
I think it depends if the big shows pimp him, right? If the big shows are out there pimping him, I think he could get a lot of love because I don't think it's hard to talk people into him. One, he's, from DFS perspective, at least he's a household name. No Christian Woods. So, I mean, it's extra shots, extra production. He's been fantastic in his first two games. Everybody knows Detroit is a terrible basketball team. It's tough to say this morning. I could see him being 15%. I could see him being overwhelming chalk too. I don't know yet.
I could as well. I mean, listen, because he is 8K in a good spot against Detroit. There's just so many guys on this slate. It's also possible that, like, again, Oladipo gets a lot of love, and like all the other guys, like, like Randall and all those guys just go absolutely unowned, which is possible.
Yeah. And again, Eric Gordon hasn't done anything the last two games that are going to make you like run to him. But he has taken 17 and 20 shots. And with no Christian Wood tonight, because as much as we like Cousins, he's still not playing Christian Wood minutes. So there's going to be an extra 10 minutes in this game at least where Eric Gordon and Victor Oladipo are just the offense for this team.
Yeah, for sure. And one thing I'll say, like, I like for Oladipo's purpose, this is a slight downgrade for him, in my opinion, that it's Cousins instead of Wood. They're both very offensive skilled, Wood and Cousins. But for me, Cousins, like, is kind of like one of those old school traditional centers that wants the ball and, like, he's making his move in the post. Woods is catching lobs, shooting threes, getting guys assists. Cousins kind of does stuff all by himself. He's selfish.
Yeah, although he's mostly just shooting threes these days.
I wonder what his role is going to be like today. And honestly, I'd be very skeptical of him if we didn't see this. He balled against Indiana in the last time he started.
Yeah, again, it's a ballsy fade in my opinion. I can see a situation where it plays out. I can understand it. But I think it's a ballsy fade because when he gets minutes, he can still produce. Like you mentioned the game against Indiana. He played 23 minutes, gave you 40 points. But at high ownership, I'll probably run a lineup without him tonight.
The reason that I could, and I think you'll agree with this, I could see scenarios in which it doesn't work is because we don't know who Cousins is anymore. Like, we know he's got that upside, in him for sure. But, again, the last 3 games, he hasn't done much of anything. And I get it, he hasn't shot well. But if he's not shooting well, like, what's he doing? And he's going to play more minutes tonight, but I don't think he plays more than like 25 minutes for sure.
Of his last 28 shots since James Harden left town, 19 of them have been 3-pointers. He has not been getting down in the post, which is, I'm not saying he doesn't tonight. And at 4,400, it's really difficult in a good matchup to get away from him. But he's been very, very passive while out there and mostly just turned into like Blake Griffin.
It's funny because we're thinking, he's starting, and it's obviously good for him. There's no Christian Wood. But he's played, again, minimal, but he's played, average of 16 minutes the past 3 games and has done nothing. I mean, if he played 22 minutes in these games, he still would have been like barely viable at 4,400. He would have been fine. Like, definitely not a guy you need. What's he getting you, like 22? So I'm thinking about it that way. It's interesting. Thinking about it from the DeMarcus Cousins we've known forever, he could have 50 here.
And most of his minutes have come with Christian Wood off the court. I've seen them play them together sparingly, but a little bit.
Very sparingly.
But these are mostly non-Christian Wood minutes. And he's just been sitting on the perimeter, not getting down in the post. And if that's the theory to let Depot and Eric Gordon get to the hoop, I get it. I would like to see Cousins get more touches down in the block. But what I like and what happens aren't the same thing.
Yeah, I'm with you.
I would like for Giannis to shoot threes like Steph Curry. But based on all of the data, he doesn't.
No, he doesn't.
Not even close. So that's it, guys. I think, again, just to hit up the center position, Cousins, Gafford, Capela. And if Gafford's not starting, I'm not that interested. And I'm going to play Cousins in my main lineup, but I'm curious. Because I just feel like if he gets you 16 at high ownership, you still can reach the top of GPPs if you get the rest of your lineup right, because he's going to be highly owned. But the flip side of that is if he takes this spot as a starter and plays aggressively and assertively, gets a few blocks and steals, makes some early threes, I mean, he could meander into 35 without really breaking a sweat.
For sure. It goes to what you talked about yesterday. How do you play? What's your risk aversion? And I see both sides of it. I have to imagine if I'm playing 3 lines right now, I'll play Cousins twice.
That's about how I would look at it as well, too.
And it's possible. Like, I'm more likely to play him. I'll say this, and this is 100%. I'm much more likely to play him 3 times than fade him at all.
Oh, yeah, for sure. Because
he's 4,400.
There's still some talent there. And
yeah.
I think for him, like, he's been trying to be a good teammate, maybe because he's been the outspoken one. He's trying not to be a ball hog with these new pieces, kind of let the game come to more of this, the Silas type of like what they want. But that doesn't mean tonight, like, he doesn't just kind of alpha mail it for 10 minutes. And 10 minutes of him alpha mailing it could be 25 DK points. And then on his other 8, he could just meander into another 10.
Mm-hmm. No doubt.
So, I don't know. It's a risky fade. Guard spots are loaded tonight. Find some pay down spots at forward if you can. And, we'll continue to assess the information as it comes in. We'll do another show later in the day for our favorite plays. Oh, huge news, guys. Alex Len signs with the Wizards.
Yeah, massive. Like, it must have been limited options for him because he's going to the team where everyone has COVID.
Yeah. Stop trying to make Alex Len a thing, NBA. Come on now. We give up on this one.
Seriously.
All right, guys. Good luck today. We'll hit you up again later.
Thank you.